What if everything you thought about Meghan Markle's most relatable moment was a lie? What if the viral video of a smiling, swaying, hospital-gowned duchess, belly out, dancing in anticipation of labor, wasn't a spontaneous celebration of motherhood at all, but a calculated move in a long-standing, behind-the-scenes war? And what if someone just as famous, just as polished, and just as powerful finally decided to speak out? Because according to insiders, Victoria Beckham has had enough. And this time, she's not mincing words. She's a total bitch. That's the quote. That's the explosion. And that is just the beginning. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. It's the most unlikely celebrity showdown of 2025. The fashion icon versus the duchess, the silence versus the scandal, the calculated glam versus the curated chaos. But how did it get this far? What triggered Victoria to finally, after years of discretion, call Meghan Markle out publicly? Why did this one Instagram video, posted on Lilibet's birthday, become the final straw? And what does this reveal about the deeper rot hiding behind Hollywood's glittery veneer of girl power alliances? Because this isn't just about fashion shows and fake smiles. This is about betrayal, accusations, and something darker, something unspoken. And let me warn you now. By the time we're done, you won't look at Meghan's viral baby mama dance the same way ever again. Let's rewind. June 4th, 2025. Meghan Markle's Instagram post goes live at exactly 9:04 a.m. Pacific time. The caption is sugary sweet. 4 years ago, I was waiting for you, Lily. Waiting and dancing. Woman dancing medium skin tone strawberry hashtag baby mama dance hashtag Lilibet turns 4-inch. It's an instantly viral hit. The video shows Meghan, heavily pregnant, in a softly lit hospital room. She's barefoot, hair in a relaxed bun, beaming with what looks like unfiltered joy, wearing a pale blue hospital gown, a fetal heart monitor strap visible under the fabric. She sways to the beat of Star Keisha's The Baby Mama Dance. Prince Harry enters halfway through, awkward, a little self-conscious, but clearly trying to be playful. The song's lyrics thump. This for all my baby mamas. The internet loses its mind. Comments flood in by the thousands. You're so real, Meghan. This made me cry, loudly crying face. Iconic queen behavior. I needed this today. Mainstream outlets praise her vulnerability. Entertainment Tonight calls it a rare look into the Sussexes' private world. The Guardian says it's charmingly unfiltered. And within hours, hashtag baby mama dance is trending in 6 countries. But behind the scenes, on private WhatsApp chats, in celebrity group circles, in barely encrypted PR group texts, a very different conversation is unfolding. Because not everyone is buying it. Especially not her. Victoria Beckham, always silent, always elegant, is suddenly showing signs of agitation. According to one source close to her inner circle, she was livid. And not in the jealous, tabloid way. No, she felt played. Lied to. At first, nobody took her comments seriously. She faked the whole thing, she allegedly told a friend. But then came the receipts. The timeline inconsistencies. The wardrobe details. The private tensions that had quietly boiled between the Beckhams and the Sussexes for years, now surfacing like oil on water. And now, the story isn't about Meghan's belly dance. It's about why that moment caused such fury, and from who. Because here's what most people don't realize. Victoria Beckham and Meghan Markle were once considered close. Or at least, allies. They shared stylists. Swapped skincare routines. Were both invited to royal weddings. In the early days, Victoria even reportedly offered Meghan access to her high-end fashion teams to help ease her transition into the British royal world. But then something fractured. Some say it started with Meghan accusing the Beckhams of leaking stories to the press. Others say Meghan grew cold after feeling upstaged by Victoria's effortless glamour. Still others claim it was David Beckham who finally had enough. We've been nothing but kind. And now this? He reportedly snapped after one Sussex claim. Whatever the reason, the friendship collapsed. And for years, the silence held. No public shade. No subtweets. No overt signs of war. Just that quiet, polished freeze that only the ultra-famous can maintain. Until now. Because the baby mama dance video wasn't just another post. It was the detonator. According to multiple insiders, that single post reopened old wounds and led Victoria Beckham to finally drop the facade. In a now infamous leaked message, she allegedly told a confidant, "I kept quiet too long." Then she added the words heard around the world. "She's a total bitch." And suddenly, all hell broke loose. Tabloids picked up the whispers. Podcast hosts dissected every detail of the feud. Anonymous stylists came forward with juicy intel. And Meghan? She went completely silent. No response. No denial. No clarification. Just a carefully curated silence. But silence can't stop a narrative from spiraling. Especially not this one. Because once people started looking closer, strange details emerged about that spontaneous hospital video. Like the fact that Meghan's manicure didn't match photos from the supposed due date. Or that her hospital monitor wasn't the model typically used at Cedars-Sinai, raising questions about where the video was really filmed. Or that multiple stylists have now come forward claiming they were asked to fit Meghan with wardrobe designed to accommodate movement, not discomfort, while simulating belly shape under flexible fabric. In other words, it looked real. But maybe it wasn't. And Victoria, according to her circle, had seen enough. She wasn't going to play the smiling fashionista while her name got dragged through the royal mud. She wasn't going to pretend anymore. She had receipts. And for the first time in years, she was ready to use them. But what really pushed her over the edge? Was it just this one video? Or was it the culmination of years of tension, mistrust, and behind-the-scenes drama that finally reached its breaking point? What role did David Beckham play in this feud? And why did Meghan once allegedly accuse Victoria of being a royal climber, only to later mimic her fashion choices on the world stage? And here's the real kicker. Why are people suddenly revisiting the old, fake pregnancy rumors and connecting Victoria to the firestorm? Because according to one well-placed London source, Victoria knows more than she's ever said. And she's finally done protecting Meghan. This isn't just tabloid speculation. This is war. And now that Victoria's gloves are off, the question isn't if the truth will come out. It's when. And when it does, who will come out clean? Because the baby mama dance was never just a dance. It was a declaration, a stage performance, and possibly a final provocation. But what Victoria Beckham did next? Well, that's the part no one saw coming. What if the world's most candid royal video was staged in the same way you'd choreograph a perfume commercial? What if the heart monitor wasn't real, the hospital setting was manufactured, and the woman dancing wasn't trying to induce labor, but to induce sympathy? And what if one person close to the Sussex inner circle, someone with their own global platform and decades of media savvy, saw through it all in a matter of seconds? Because that's exactly what Victoria Beckham claims happened the moment she saw Meghan Markle's now infamous baby mama dance video. Let's break it down, frame by frame, fact by fact, and ask the one question no one else dares. Was Meghan even pregnant when that video was filmed? The video itself is just under 50 seconds long. The music? Star Keisha's The Baby Mama Dance, a viral TikTok anthem celebrating expectant mothers, typically used in fun, goofy clips meant to lighten the mood during the final stretch of pregnancy. The visuals? Meghan, barefoot and smiling, sways side to side in a softly lit hospital room. She's in a standard-issue pale blue gown. Her belly looks large, round, prominent. She's not heavily made up, but her hair is in a tidy, intentional bun, and her skin glows with that effortless radiance influencers spend hours perfecting. About halfway through, Prince Harry enters the frame. He does a few seconds of awkward dad dancing, kisses Meghan's cheek, and exits again. It ends with Meghan doubling over in laughter, placing her hands on her back, looking at the camera with the caption, "There was only one thing left to try." On the surface, it's adorable, raw, intimate. But the second Victoria Beckham saw it, she allegedly muttered one word to herself: fake. Now pause for a moment. Because this isn't a random internet troll making accusations from behind a burner account. This is Victoria Beckham, one of the most image-conscious, perfectionist-driven public figures on the planet. A woman whose entire brand rests on calculated elegance and curated authenticity. So what exactly did she see that millions missed? According to one source close to Victoria's stylist team, the first red flag was the lighting. She said immediately, "That's not hospital lighting." Hospitals, especially maternity wards, use harsh, clinical white fluorescence. But in Meghan's video, The lighting is soft, cinematic, almost warm. Then came the manicure. Meghan's nails in the video were painted a subtle blush pink with a distinct oval tip, a style she'd been photographed with at a charity gala nearly 5 days before the alleged filming date of the dance. Here's the twist. In paparazzi photos taken just 2 days after that gala, Meghan's nails were a completely different color, shorter, bare, clean. Which raises the question, when exactly was this video shot? Even more suspicious? The hospital bed visible in the background wasn't the model typically used in Cedars-Sinai's private birthing suites, where Meghan was rumored to have delivered. Sharp-eyed followers compared frame grabs to stock images of California hospital suites, and the discrepancy didn't go unnoticed. Some speculated it was filmed on a private set. Others suggested a boutique birthing center. But according to Victoria, it wasn't the where that mattered. It was the why. In her private words, reportedly shared in a WhatsApp voice note leaked by someone in her glam team, she staged it. For Lilibet's birthday. For sympathy. She wants to rewrite history. That's a brutal accusation. But let's unpack it. Lilibet Diana Mountbatten-Windsor was born on June 4, 2021, amid global headlines, royal tensions, and relentless speculation. One of the most persistent, if controversial, theories swirling around her birth was that Meghan had used a surrogate, but wanted the public to believe she carried the baby herself. It was a claim dismissed by many as fringe conspiracy. But now, with the emergence of the Baby Mama dance video in 2025, on Lilibet's 4th birthday, Victoria reportedly believed Meghan was trying to plant a new visual memory in the public's mind. Look at me, the video seems to say. I was there. I danced her into this world. But if the video wasn't actually filmed during labor, or even in the days before, it becomes something else entirely. A cinematic rewrite of a moment that was once shrouded in secrecy. The timing is also suspicious. Why release the video 4 years later? Why wait until the exact day your daughter turns 4 to unveil this long-hidden footage? According to a former royal reporter, Meghan's team knows the power of nostalgia. She's rebranding herself again as the fun mom, the spontaneous duchess, the relatable woman. But this time, it feels deliberate. And Victoria? She wasn't having it. The fashion mogul reportedly called the video emotional manipulation disguised as content. Worse, she saw it as Meghan weaponizing motherhood for clout. Now let's bring in the emotional angle. Because Victoria Beckham isn't just a critic. She's a mother of 4. She knows what it means to carry life, to birth it, to endure the fear, the pain, the unpredictability. Which is why, sources say, she felt personally insulted by the video. She said it cheapened the experience, one insider claims. Like Meghan was turning labor into a TikTok skit. And for Victoria, whose own pregnancies were complicated and largely shielded from public view, that kind of stunt crossed a line. Especially when you consider the history between these two women. Because long before this feud became public, Victoria had allegedly extended a hand to Meghan, offering fashion advice, style connections, and discretion. So when Meghan reportedly accused the Beckhams of leaking stories to the press in 2020, that trust shattered. And now, 5 years later, Victoria's silence is crumbling under the weight of years of built-up betrayal. She used to protect Meghan, says one longtime Beckham staffer. But this video? It was a final insult. Victoria saw it as proof that Meghan can't help herself. She has to stage everything, even birth. Here's where it gets darker. According to unverified but persistent rumors, Victoria wasn't the only high-profile woman questioning the video's authenticity. 2 other British A-listers, both former friends of Meghan, reportedly voiced similar concerns in private group chats. One allegedly said, "It's giving step-forward PR." Another wrote simply, "This is her new Diana moment." But here's the twist. When the media started picking up on the skepticism, they didn't trace it back to Meghan's inner circle. They traced it back to Victoria. A Daily Mail column hinted at a UK fashion legend who feels burned by Meghan's recent content tactics. The Sun referred to a once friendly face now fuming behind closed doors. And when the leaks began, DMs, voice notes, private dinner whispers, the picture became clearer. Victoria Beckham, the silent-style queen, had broken formation. And not just with a one-liner. Not just with a quote. With rage. Because according to several sources, her real fury wasn't about the video itself. It was about what the video tried to erase. The questions, the timeline, the suspicions, the past. She's trying to control the narrative again, Victoria allegedly said. But some of us remember what really happened. And that's the core of the drama, isn't it? Not just what the world saw, but what it was meant to believe. Did Meghan's video show a powerful moment of maternal joy? Or did it try to overwrite years of speculation with one viral, curated clip? And if so, why? Why does Meghan Markle, a woman with platforms, power, and privilege, feel the need to perform motherhood? For years after the fact? Is it about legacy, image, redemption? Or is it something darker? According to Victoria, it's about control. The story, the image, the audience. And once you see the dance through that lens, it's impossible to unsee it. The laughter looks scripted. The framing feels intentional. Even Harry's presence reads less like support and more like staging. So the question remains, was this a tribute to Lilibet or a message to the world? And if Victoria Beckham is right, if this was indeed a masterclass in emotional manipulation disguised as authenticity, then we have to ask, what else has been staged? Because if this video cracked Victoria's silence, what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. What turns a glamorous A-list friendship into a cold war of whispered insults, leaked texts, and one brutal hot mic moment? What takes two of the world's most famous couples, from front-row Fashion Week smiles and dinner party toasts, to stiff body language, frosty silences, and a whispered quote that sent shockwaves through the celebrity world? She's a total bitch? And most importantly, why did Meghan Markle and Victoria Beckham, two powerful women, both celebrated, both obsessed over, both relentlessly photographed, go from allies to adversaries? It didn't happen all at once. But once it started, the collapse was vicious. Let's rewind to 2017, the year Meghan Markle first entered the royal orbit. She wasn't yet a duchess. She was still an American actress trying to navigate the minefield of British aristocracy, royal protocol, and tabloid obsession. And one of the first people to offer her a lifeline? Victoria Beckham. Yes, that Victoria. The Spice Girl turned global fashion designer who had managed to make the leap from pop culture to couture without losing her edge. The Beckhams were already tight with Prince Harry. David had attended both William's and Harry's weddings, and the two couples shared a few mutual friends. So when Meghan and Harry became official, it made sense that Victoria and David would extend a welcome. And according to insiders, Meghan was thrilled. In fact, in the early days, Meghan allegedly leaned heavily on Victoria for help. Fashion. Victoria offered contacts. Stylists. Victoria made introductions. Press management. Victoria warned her what to avoid and who to trust. In return, Meghan praised Victoria's designs publicly, wore several of her pieces to royal engagements, and once referred to her in a Vogue interview as a real woman's woman. It looked like a match made in PR heaven, but behind the curated smiles, the cracks were already forming. According to a former royal correspondent, the friendship began to fray in early 2019, right after Meghan's baby shower in New York. Despite headlines about celebrity guests and lavish gifts, Meghan allegedly returned to the UK convinced someone in her circle had leaked details of the event to the press. And she had a theory. A wrong one, but a theory nonetheless. She believed someone in the Beckham orbit had spoken to the tabloids, the insider claims. She never had hard proof. But once Meghan gets suspicious, she doesn't let go. David Beckham, always protective of his brand, was said to be livid. He'd built his image on loyalty, discretion, and keeping his family out of tabloid mess. The accusation, unspoken but heavily implied, was a slap in the face. Victoria? She was devastated. She'd gone out of her way to support Meghan, says one of her stylists. And then to be accused of leaking? Without evidence? That broke something. It wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was a betrayal. From that point on, the dynamic changed. Invitations stopped coming. Texts went unanswered. Where Meghan had once worn Victoria Beckham designs regularly, she now favored other British brands or American labels with female empowerment messaging. At one point, Victoria reportedly confided in a friend. She used me, and when she didn't need me, she moved on. But it wasn't until the Sussexes relocated to the US that things turned hostile. In LA, Meghan was building her own empire, signing deals with Netflix, Spotify, Amazon MGM. She had stylists, producers, assistants. She didn't need Victoria's fashion circle anymore. But Victoria? She hadn't forgotten. Especially not after hearing Meghan had warned others about her. She told people to watch their back around Victoria, one source claimed. Said she plays the long game. That's when Victoria did something uncharacteristic. She began talking. Not publicly, not on record, but in whispers, in carefully chosen comments, in phrases that made their way back to Meghan like poison in a teacup. She's not who she says she is. She doesn't have friends. She has props. She only calls when she wants something. Those were the phrases circling the fashion and entertainment circuits. Not printed, not posted, but heard. And then came the dinner. March 2025. A charity dinner in Beverly Hills. Multiple A-listers. Luxury sponsorships. A guest list that included both Sussexes and the Beckhams. It was the first time Meghan and Victoria had been in the same room in nearly 2 years. Eyewitnesses say the tension was arctic. They didn't speak. They didn't make eye contact. At one point, a photographer tried to get a shot of both women near the dessert bar. Meghan turned away. Victoria sipped her wine and said nothing. But according to an attendee seated 2 tables away, it was what Victoria said later that set everything ablaze. She leaned toward a friend and said, "She's a total bitch. I tried. I'm done." It wasn't meant to be public. But in 2025, nothing stays private for long. A hot mic, a spilled quote, a loose-lipped assistant, and suddenly, bam. Every entertainment site had the headline within 72 hours. Victoria Beckham calls Meghan Markle a total bitch at Beverly Hills charity dinner. The story was denied. Walked back. PR teams scrambled. But the damage? Done. And behind the scenes, the fallout was even messier. A source close to Meghan claimed she felt shattered by the betrayal. She expected the press. She expected trolls. But not this. Not Victoria. But Victoria's friends fired back. She was provoked, one said. She kept her mouth shut for years. She got dragged, dismissed, cut out, and then that fake pregnancy video. That was it. Here's where it gets even murkier. Because while Victoria was trying to maintain plausible deniability, other women in her circle began stepping forward. Stylists, PR consultants, former friends of Meghan's. One by one, they started confirming the rift. And their message was consistent. Victoria didn't start this feud. Meghan did. With suspicion, with ego, with control. And just like that, the Beckham-Sussex implosion wasn't gossip anymore. It was war. Let's pause here and ask. How did 2 women, both globally admired, both representing modern femininity and success, become this toxic? Was it ambition? Insecurity? Fame? Or was it something simpler? A mirror? Because Victoria Beckham and Meghan Markle, at their core, are both image-obsessed perfectionists who command attention, fiercely control their public narrative, and struggle when they aren't the center of the room. They were too similar, too calculated, too guarded, too good at playing the game. And when 2 queens walk into the same court, only one gets the crown. Victoria had fashion. Meghan had the crown. But now, in 2025, neither of them wants the other to win. Not after the betrayal. Not after the accusations. Not after that quote. She's a total bitch. And that quote, it didn't just spark gossip. It sparked something far more dangerous. Because behind the glam squads and Instagram posts, these women are building narratives. And Victoria? She was just getting started. Because a few days after that dinner, she sent a private message that would leak, go viral, and trigger a media firestorm that made the baby mama dance look tame. And it began with just 6 words. I kept quiet for too long. But what came next? That was unforgivable. What if the moment that was supposed to bring Meghan Markle her greatest sympathy ended up becoming the source of her most damaging controversy? What if behind the carefully curated bump photos, the flowing maternity dresses, and the glowing interviews, there were whispers of body doubles, silicone prosthetics, and lockdown hospital wings? And what if one of the only people brave enough to say it out loud was Victoria Beckham? Because according to multiple sources, it wasn't just the baby mama dance video that enraged Victoria. It was the entire narrative around Meghan's pregnancy. And the truth is, those rumors didn't start in 2025. They began the moment Meghan's bump did. Let's go back to late 2018. The Sussexes had just announced they were expecting their first child, Archie, during a royal tour of Australia. The press fawned. The public was thrilled. But behind the scenes, royal watchers, especially those with trained eyes, noticed something odd. Meghan's bump changed sizes. Frequently. Sometimes drastically. One day, her belly looked 6 months along. 2 days later, practically flat. Another week, suddenly enormous again. Photos from the royal variety performance, especially, sparked headlines. In one image, Meghan's bump appears high and round. In another, taken the same night, it's noticeably smaller. At first, it was dismissed as camera angles, posture, lighting. But then came the infamous squatting video. A clip from early 2019 where Meghan squats down gracefully in heels to pick up a fallen bouquet. Not a grunt, not a wobble, no signs of discomfort. Mothers who've carried late into pregnancy spoke up. Impossible. Too flexible. Where's the strain? That's when online forums exploded with a theory many considered unthinkable. Was Meghan faking her pregnancy? Or, to be more precise, was Meghan using a surrogate while pretending to be pregnant herself? Enter Victoria Beckham. According to multiple insiders, Victoria didn't initially entertain the rumors. She thought it was vile gossip, one source close to her PR team shared. She was disgusted. But then something happened. In early 2019, Victoria and Meghan reportedly crossed paths at a private fashion event in London. By then, the public relationship was already strained, but cordial. What allegedly stood out to Victoria? Meghan's dress. She was wearing a fitted satin gown, the source explained. No creases where you'd expect them. Her movements were fluid. Too fluid. It wasn't just the way Meghan walked. It was the way her bump moved. Or didn't. According to one witness, Victoria turned to her assistant afterward and said, "Either she's got the best abdominal control I've ever seen, or something isn't right." Still, no public comment. No accusations. Not yet. Victoria kept her thoughts private. But the seed had been planted, and it would grow. Fast forward to 2021, Lilibet's birth. No hospital photos. No official footage. No verified confirmation of where, when, or how Meghan gave birth. The statement from the Sussex team was vague. The birth was announced after the fact, with a pre-approved image that showed only Lilibet's feet. No hospital discharge. No royal presentation. No details. And again, the same questions began circulating. Was Meghan pregnant? Or did she stage another surrogate narrative? Victoria, by then, was paying attention. And what disturbed her, according to sources, wasn't just the rumors. It was how easily Meghan used motherhood as armor. She knew no one would question a mother. Victoria allegedly said in a private text. That's why she plays it so hard. But here's where things get explosive. In early 2023, a document began circulating among elite LA stylists and red carpet dressers. It was an internal memo sent from a high-profile maternity design consultant. And in it were specific instructions on how to tailor around a foam-simulated maternity prosthetic. Yes, a fake bump. One that could shift weight, compress for seating, and even bounce lightly for naturalistic motion. The client? Anonymous. Unnamed. But the sizing, timelines, and stylist initials matched appointments allegedly scheduled for Meghan Markle. And Victoria? She saw the memo. That's when her suspicions hardened into conviction. She's not just fake, she reportedly told her hairstylist. She's fraudulent. According to that same source, Victoria then began documenting everything she remembered. Notes, messages, dates, just in case. But still, she didn't go public. Not yet. Because the real boiling point wouldn't come until 2025, when Meghan released the infamous hospital dance video. And Victoria realized that Meghan wasn't just trying to distract from the past. She was trying to erase it. Let's talk about the emotional impact here. Victoria is a mother of 4. She's been pregnant in the public eye. She's endured postnatal speculation, body shaming, tabloid cruelty. She knows the vulnerability of carrying life, and doing so while photographers try to catch your worst angle. So to her, Meghan's alleged use of a prosthetic wasn't just theatrical. It was offensive. A betrayal of women who had suffered miscarriages. A betrayal of mothers who fought to conceive. A betrayal of authenticity. She turned pregnancy into performance, Victoria reportedly said. And that's something I will never forgive. Those are heavy words. And from Victoria Beckham? Practically nuclear. Because once she said that, there was no going back. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Why didn't Victoria speak out sooner? Why wait until 2025 to finally say what she'd allegedly been thinking since 2019? One word: optics. Victoria Beckham doesn't start drama. She maintains luxury, grace, brand partnerships. But by 2025, her patience had been depleted, and Meghan's video had made it personal. Because that baby mama dance, that was the final rewrite, the final manipulation, the final staged act. And Victoria had had enough. She's rewriting history, Victoria told a confidant. She wants us to believe she danced her daughter into the world. But she wasn't even pregnant. And that quote, that was the beginning of the end. Within days of the leaked message, Victoria's team went into partial lockdown. No press statements, no interviews. But her silence was already louder than words. Fashion blogs dissected every look she wore post-scandal. Headlines read, Victoria's revenge dress? Beckham breaks her silence with statement stiletto. No more Mrs. Nice Spice. And Meghan? Dead silent. No denial. No clarification. No legal threats. Just a subtle shift in strategy. More family photos. More feel-good captions. More cozy mom content. But the public? They had questions. Because when Victoria Beckham, a woman known for keeping her mouth shut, finally opens it, you listen, and what she said next would change everything. Because she didn't just question the pregnancy. She questioned everything else, too. From the wedding, to the friendship, to the rumors Meghan allegedly spread behind her back. And when the next bombshell dropped, it didn't come from a tabloid. It came from Victoria herself. And it started with a single leaked screenshot. One that ended with the words, she faked more than her bump. What happens when a carefully curated illusion unravels, one Instagram post at a time? What if a seemingly innocent, feel-good dance video, meant to tug heartstrings and go viral, turns out to be the match that lit a powder keg of pent-up fury, suspicion, and secrets? And what if the person holding the match was Meghan Markle? Because according to insiders close to both camps, the now infamous baby mama dance wasn't just a cute moment from a proud mom. It was a message, a performance, a bold, glittering attempt to reframe the narrative and silence years of speculation with one perfectly staged, algorithm-ready video. And for Victoria Beckham, it was war. Let's revisit the video again. June 4th, 2025. On her daughter Lilibet's 4th birthday, Meghan Markle drops a never-before-seen video to Instagram. The caption reads, 4 years ago today, I was still waiting, so we danced. Hashtag baby mama dance, hashtag Lilibet turns 4, hashtag overdue and over it. The post appears at exactly 9:04 a.m. Pacific time. Within minutes, it's trending. Within hours, it's viral. And within 24 hours, it's global news. In the clip, Meghan appears barefoot, beaming, visibly pregnant in a powder blue hospital gown. A fetal heart monitor is strapped across her belly. Prince Harry joins in briefly, mimicking TikTok dance moves. The song, Starkeisha's The Baby Mama Dance, plays loudly in the background, its bass vibrating through the phone speakers of millions. It's lighthearted, wholesome, a celebration of motherhood. At least on the surface. But the timing? The timing raised eyebrows almost instantly. Why now? Why this video? Why this moment? 4 years after Lilibet's birth. And more importantly, why had no one ever seen this footage before? Even the most devout Sussex fans were caught off guard. Where had this clip been for 4 years? Why hadn't it been shared when Lilibet was born? Or on previous birthdays? Or during Meghan's interviews about motherhood? The suddenness was suspicious. But according to insiders, this wasn't an accident. It was a calculated drop. A premeditated piece of visual storytelling, meant to drown out noise, erase doubt, and present Meghan as the warm, radiant, real mom who danced her baby into the world. But for Victoria Beckham, who had long harbored suspicions about Meghan's first and second pregnancies, this wasn't just opportunistic. It was strategic deceit. And she wasn't the only one who felt that way. 2 days after the video went live, a stylist who once worked with both Meghan and Victoria broke their silence in a now-deleted podcast interview. Their words? I saw the wardrobe prep for that shoot. Wait, shoot? Not hospital visit. Not impromptu dance. Shoot. The stylist, whose name was bleeped out by editors to protect their safety, claimed the following. The gown Meghan wore in the video wasn't hospital-issued. It was purchased from a custom medical costuming supplier in West Hollywood. The heart monitor was allegedly non-functional, a replica prop. The lighting was set up with softbox kits, not overhead fluorescents. And most damning of all, the shoot allegedly took place weeks after Lilibet was born, well after labor had already occurred. That bombshell sent internet sleuths into a frenzy. And guess what they found? A behind-the-scenes Instagram story from a now private makeup artist, dated June 28, 2021, showing a blurry shot of what looked like Meghan dancing in a gown under a lighting rig, with the caption, "Just another day on set with a queen crown." At the time, nobody questioned it. But now it looked like evidence. And Victoria? She saw it all. And she was furious. Let's pause for a moment. Because this is where the story twists from scandal to strategy. For Victoria, the post wasn't just insulting, it was reputation warfare. Meghan's playing chess, one Beckham confidant claimed. And this video? That was her checkmate move. But Victoria wasn't conceding. Instead, she did what she does best. She used fashion as a weapon. Just days after the viral video, Victoria was photographed outside her London store wearing an all-white suit. No jewelry, no glam, just one bold accessory, a necklace with a single word spelled out in diamonds. Truth. Fashion blogs exploded. Was it a statement? A response? A silent declaration of war? "She's done playing nice," one Daily Mail headline blared. And she wasn't alone. Suddenly, other insiders started whispering. A former midwife at Cedars-Sinai claimed off-record that no one on staff recalled Meghan staying overnight in the maternity wing. A nurse from a nearby LA birthing center said she was asked to sign an NDA after assisting with a high-profile prenatal simulation shoot. Even old Meghan allies were uncharacteristically quiet. No reposts, no birthday tributes, just silence. And in Hollywood, silence speaks louder than statements. Because if Meghan had truly faked the video, pretending to be pregnant weeks after giving birth, in order to rewrite history, that wasn't just deceptive. That was performance art masquerading as truth. And Victoria? She wasn't letting it slide. She staged the entire thing, Victoria reportedly said in a now-leaked voice memo. She created the set, the lighting, the bump. And then she pretended it was spontaneous. And then she added the line that turned everything upside down. She faked more than her bump. So what else had Meghan allegedly faked? According to the leak, Victoria hinted that the dance video was part of a pattern, not an isolated incident, but a symptom, a strategy. She manufactures moments, Victoria allegedly told a friend. She doesn't live them. She scripts them. That line hit like a grenade. And suddenly, people started looking backward. At the Oprah interview, at the Archetypes podcast, at the Netflix docuseries, at the black and white maternity photos, at the spontaneous wedding footage, at every teary-eyed confession, perfectly timed to drop before a product launch or streaming premiere. And slowly but surely, the narrative began to turn. Meghan wasn't just controversial. She was being called inauthentic, scripted, staged. And for a woman whose brand was built on vulnerability and truth, that was career poison. Let's take a step back and really ask, why would Meghan do this? Why fake a pregnancy moment? Why recreate labor weeks later? Why post the clip in 2025? The answer, according to one Hollywood PR exec, is legacy. Meghan's entire public image is about being a mother, a wife, a truth teller, they explained. That video was her attempt to cement that, to shut down years of surrogacy rumors, to bury the doubts. But in trying to shut them down, she may have made them louder. Because now, the questions aren't just coming from Twitter trolls. They're coming from stylists, nurses, media professionals, and most damning of all, Victoria Beckham. By the end of June 2025, what began as a nostalgic birthday post had become a full-blown credibility crisis. Media outlets were walking a fine line, afraid to directly accuse, but eager to imply. Podcasts analyzed the video's frame rate, lighting angles, even Meghan's body language. Conspiracy channels ran side-by-side comparisons of Meghan's pregnancy in 2019 and the dance video in 2025, highlighting discrepancies in bump shape, movement, posture. And in the eye of the storm, Victoria Beckham, silent. unapologetic, and, according to reports, plotting her next move. Because the baby mama dance wasn't just a PR fumble. It was the final straw. And what Victoria revealed next would go far beyond pregnancy. It would drag Meghan's entire public image into question. Friendships, collaborations, alleged manipulation, and a hidden comment from Meghan herself. One that painted Victoria in a very different light. And when that comment surfaced, it turned everything upside down. What if the truth wasn't revealed in a press conference, a podcast, or a tabloid bombshell, but in a leaked screenshot? One that had no context, no explanation. Just a single message from Victoria Beckham that made one thing clear. She'd had enough. And the person who leaked it? Someone even closer to Meghan than Victoria ever was. Because this wasn't just a feud anymore. This was a leak war. And for once, the person who mastered the game of controlled narratives, Meghan Markle, was losing. It started with a photo. An anonymous Twitter user, handle at TruthSpice2025, posted a blurry image of a phone screen late one Thursday night in June 2025. The caption? "She's not innocent. She's strategic. #receipts. The photo showed a WhatsApp chat between someone saved as VB nail polish medium light skin tone and a contact with their name cropped out. The message from VB read, "I kept quiet too long. She knows I saw through her. She's terrified I'll talk. And frankly, I just might." Within hours, the post had over 100,000 likes. Reddit threads exploded. TikTokers started decoding the timestamp, analyzing the font, even comparing emoji spacing to confirm it was real. And then came the second leak. A DM, allegedly from Victoria to a stylist Meghan had previously worked with, dated months earlier. "You always said she had two faces. I believed you. She used me, and when I didn't go along with the narrative, she made sure I was cut out." And then, most damning of all, the third leak. A screenshot of an Instagram DM from Meghan Markle herself, sent in late 2022. "Keep Victoria away from the fittings. She talks too much and plays both sides. Not worth the drama." That last one was a nuke, because it confirmed something Victoria had only suspected for years, that Meghan had actively worked to freeze her out. And now, the world saw it. Let's rewind to how these leaks happened, because they weren't random. Sources claim they came from a disgruntled former assistant, someone who had worked in overlapping circles with both Meghan and Victoria for over 2 years. And when they were fired in May 2025 for performance issues, they didn't go quietly. They went into their archives, their screenshots, their backups, and what they found was gold. Dozens of messages, some mundane, some petty, some absolutely explosive. Victoria venting to stylists, Meghan blocking people. Conversations where both women played the exact same game. Control the narrative, destroy the threat. But the difference? Meghan had branded herself as the victim of this behavior. And Victoria? She had stayed silent. Until now. One DM in particular caught the attention of the media. It was from Victoria to a British stylist with deep ties to Vogue. Dated March 2023, it read, "I know she's leaking. I know she's shaping stories. She called me a snake to someone at Archwell. But I won't play dirty. Not unless she forces me." Poetic in hindsight. Because just 2 years later, after the baby mama dance video dropped and Victoria's fury reached a boil, she did play dirty. Or, at least, she stopped playing clean. Now let's look at the impact. These messages didn't just confirm the feud. They exposed its depth. This wasn't about one video, or one dinner, or one pregnancy theory. This was about two powerful women locked in a cold war of image and influence, where the first one to blink would lose everything. And now that the leaks were public, Meghan blinked hard. Her team immediately scrambled to do damage control. They claimed the DM leak was unverified, digitally altered, and defamatory. They threatened legal action. They tried to pivot the story, reposting photos of Meghan baking with Archie, talking about motherhood, choosing joy. But the narrative had already shifted, because now the public wasn't just questioning Meghan's pregnancies. They were questioning her character. One podcast host, formerly pro-Sussex, said it best. She was the girl boss, the feminist icon, the underdog. But if she's been manipulating friends, freezing out allies, staging content, then what does she stand for anymore? And for Victoria, the silence was delicious. She didn't confirm the messages. She didn't deny them either. Instead, Her brand quietly dropped a limited edition handbag named Silenced. Price tag? $2,500. Sold out in 36 minutes. Coincidence? Hardly. One fashion editor tweeted, "Victoria's doing revenge without ever saying the word." Iconic. But the real twist was what came next, because buried in one of those leaked messages, missed by most media outlets, was a single, cryptic sentence from Victoria. "She's not scared I'll reveal what she did to me. She's scared I'll reveal what she said about Kate." Wait, what? Kate Middleton? That name hadn't been mentioned in this feud yet. And suddenly, the drama exploded into a new dimension. Because if Meghan had said something damning about the Princess of Wales, and if Victoria had the proof, then this wasn't just a celebrity fallout. This was royal territory. And for the firm, that would be a nightmare. Because the last thing the palace wants in 2025 is another Meghan versus Kate narrative. But if Victoria had messages, DMs, audio, and she was ready to spill, then we weren't just watching the unraveling of a friendship. We were watching the unraveling of a reputation. And according to one insider, she's got the messages. She's been sitting on them. And now she's deciding what to do. Because for all her silence, Victoria Beckham was done being used. She had the receipts. And if Meghan didn't back off, she'd use them. All of them. Because the next revelation wouldn't just burn bridges. It would burn the whole damn castle. What does a master of public relations do when her own game begins to collapse? She doesn't scream. She doesn't post. She doesn't threaten. She strategizes. Because when Meghan Markle realized that Victoria Beckham had the receipts, real ones, private ones, she didn't panic. She pivoted. And thus began what insiders have come to call the silent war. No interviews. No rebuttals. No fiery statements. Just a quietly devastating, meticulously orchestrated PR campaign that unfolded like a whisper, but hit like a hurricane. And if Victoria thought she'd dropped the final bomb, she was wrong. Meghan had one more move to play, and she played it ruthlessly. First came the erasure. Within 48 hours of the DM leak going viral, fans noticed something strange. All past Instagram likes Meghan had placed on Victoria Beckham's brand page, gone. Every single one. Photos from 2018 and 2019, where Meghan had once praised Victoria's outfits in comments, quietly deleted. Archived interviews on the Archwell website referencing British designers I admire, with a subtle nod to Victoria, reworded or removed entirely. At first, it felt petty, but then it got calculated. Behind the scenes, Meghan's team began reaching out to fashion editors. The message? Meghan is no longer interested in being associated with Victoria Beckham's designs. Please update future features accordingly. One British fashion blog confirmed that their Meghan Markle summer style feature, originally built around Victoria Beckham tailoring, was pulled at the last minute. Another received a polite but firm call from Meghan's rep advising them to stop suggesting any creative collaboration between Archwell and Beckham Beauty. And just like that, Meghan was rewriting the narrative again. Victoria wasn't a former friend. She was a non-entity, frozen out, scrubbed, erased. The same tactic Meghan had allegedly used on other former confidants. Amal Clooney, Priyanka Chopra, even her own father, was now being deployed against a global fashion titan. And make no mistake, this wasn't personal anymore. It was strategic isolation, a silent strike. But Victoria? She wasn't folding. Not yet. Enter phase 2. Meghan's next move was genius in its subtlety. She didn't respond to the drama. She released a cookbook. Yes, a family-friendly, wellness-focused digital cookbook titled From My Table. Moments of Joy, complete with recipes for Archie's favorite banana muffins and Lilibet's birthday smoothies. The timing? Exactly 1 week after the DM leak. The tone? Warm, wholesome, matriarchal. The message? I'm above all this. But Victoria's camp saw through it instantly. She's flooding the press with kindness, one fashion editor remarked. It's a smoke bomb, a classic tactic. Drown the scandal in syrup. And Meghan wasn't done. She launched a back-to-school donation drive through Archwell, promoting it with a candid video of her hugging mothers in Compton, California. No makeup, loose jeans, a baseball cap. The caption? Motherhood is my greatest gift. Supporting other mothers is my mission. It was a masterstroke. Because while Victoria was trending for leaked DMs and dramatic handbags, Meghan was trendjacking with charity. Suddenly, the press couldn't decide what the narrative was. Was Meghan a master manipulator? Or a mother under attack? Was Victoria brave for standing up? Or bitter for being cut off? And that confusion? That gray space? That's where Meghan thrives. But Victoria wasn't giving up that easily. While Meghan launched her quiet campaign of erasure and goodwill, Victoria prepared her next move. And it was deliberately loud. She didn't give an interview. She gave an appearance. In mid-July 2025, just a few weeks after Meghan's cookbook release, Victoria attended the Fashion Trust Gala in London wearing a sleek black gown with the word "real" stitched into the collar. She was photographed arriving solo. No David. No distractions. Just Victoria. Alone. Controlled. Poised. And according to guests inside, she didn't shy away from questions. When one reporter asked if she'd be collaborating with Meghan again, Victoria allegedly smiled and said, "I don't work with women who rewrite reality." It wasn't just shade. It was war paint. Then came the whispers. Multiple media outlets began receiving anonymous tips hinting that Meghan had known about the leak in advance, that her team had tried to get ahead of it, and that the cookbook, the Compton video, even the stylist features had been scheduled precisely to drown the wave. If true, that wasn't PR genius. That was premeditated image manipulation on a level that made people uncomfortable. Even former Meghan supporters began to blink. One columnist wrote, "She's so polished it's become suspicious." Another asked, "How many times can you pivot before the public catches on?" And then, something happened that Meghan didn't control. A source from within Archewell leaked a private Slack message from a team lead. It read, "Damage control mode until Q3 ends. Block all VB mentions. Focus on motherhood, charity, and wellness verticals." It wasn't explosive, but it confirmed what people feared, that Meghan's charity push wasn't a natural extension of her values. It was a defense strategy. And for Victoria, it was validation. "She's spinning again," Victoria allegedly texted a friend. "It's all spin." But then came the final move in Meghan's silent war. And it hit where it hurt most. In August 2025, a major U.S. magazine ran a glowing cover story on Meghan. It was titled, "The Unbreakable Duchess." Inside, the article traced Meghan's journey through motherhood, media scrutiny, and rebuilding trust. No mention of Victoria. No mention of feuds. Just motherhood, resilience, grace. But buried halfway through the article, in a single sentence that seemed innocuous at first, despite private betrayals by some in the fashion world, Meghan remains committed to supporting women who support each other. That line was a missile. Subtle, slick, lethal. Because to the casual reader, it was just a line. But to insiders, it was a direct shot, an accusation, a public framing of Victoria as the one who betrayed her. And because it wasn't explicit, Victoria couldn't respond without looking paranoid. She was being outmaneuvered. Again. So where did that leave them? Victoria, once the dignified style queen, was now the woman airing dirty laundry. Meghan, once the woman under fire, was now a serene figure posting lemon cake recipes. But beneath that quiet exterior, a chessboard, still moving. Because the silent war wasn't about who spoke louder. It was about who spoke last. And according to whispers from Buckingham Palace, yes, the palace, the royals had been watching. And what they'd seen terrified them. Because Meghan's next move wouldn't just be a PR stunt. It would be a revenge play. And it wouldn't target Victoria. It would target Kate. What happens when two warring queens find themselves under one roof? With cameras flashing, egos flaring, and a history neither is willing to forget? What happens when carefully veiled tension snaps and the gloves come off? Because for all the silence, the subtle digs, the indirect shade, there was one night when it all boiled over. One night that turned whispers into war cries. And it didn't happen on Instagram. It happened face to face. At a Beverly Hills charity gala that was supposed to be about clean water, but ended in cold stares, shattered alliances, and a single phrase overheard by multiple witnesses. Fake bitch. This was the Beverly Hills Showdown. It was July 19th, 2025. The annual Wells for Hope Gala, a star-studded fundraising event known for attracting Hollywood A-listers, fashion royalty, and international philanthropists. This year's host, George Clooney. Venue? The iconic Beverly Hills Hotel. Cause: clean water access in Africa. Guest list: over 400 names long. And nestled halfway down the VIP seating chart, Victoria Beckham, row B, table 6. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, row B, table 8. Separated by 2 tables, less than 15 feet apart. And according to everyone in that room, the air was ice. From the moment Meghan arrived, late and flanked by Archwell's staff, the energy shifted. She wore white, a minimalist Dior gown with a plunging neckline and diamond studs. Hair down, makeup subtle, body language tight. Harry trailed slightly behind, distracted, eyes flicking across the room. Victoria had already been seated for 20 minutes. She wore black, a tailored, sharp-shouldered dress from her own label. No jewelry, no husband. She didn't flinch when Meghan entered. She didn't look, but she knew. And Meghan? She knew too. Because this wasn't just another event. This was battlefield neutral ground. Throughout the evening, they orbited one another like rival planets. Close enough to pull the press into a frenzy, far enough to avoid a full collision. Or so everyone thought. Until the moment that changed everything. It happened just after dessert. The lights dimmed. A short documentary played on the overhead screens, showing children in rural Kenya drinking clean water for the first time. Applause. A few tears. And then, as staff began clearing tables and prepping for the after-party, Meghan stood. She wasn't heading for the restroom. She wasn't leaving. She was heading straight toward table 6. Toward Victoria. Alone. No staff. No Harry. Just Meghan. And every phone in the room seemed to rise at once, slowly, stealthily, ready to capture history. Now, what exactly was said depends on who you ask. But every source agrees on the energy. It was tense, controlled, but deadly. Meghan leaned down, close to Victoria's ear, and whispered something. Victoria nodded, then said 2 words aloud. Words multiple guests confirm hearing. Fake bitch. The room didn't erupt. It froze. The kind of collective stillness you only see when something seismic is happening. Meghan didn't flinch. She stood upright, smiled, turned, and walked away. No fight, no scene, no retaliation. Just exit. And Victoria? She calmly sipped her wine. The moment was over in under 10 seconds. But the shockwaves are still being felt. Within hours, the internet exploded. Guests live tweeted coded reactions. Never seen tension like that in my life. Eyes, eyes, eyes. When Posh Spice calls you out, you've officially lost the war. I was there. I heard it. We all did. Hashtag fake bitch. By the next morning, tabloids were ablaze. Victoria Beckham calls Meghan Markle a fake bitch at Gala Clash. Charity Gala turns frosty as Meghan and Victoria face off. Insider, Meghan walked into a PR trap she couldn't control. And the headlines weren't even the worst part. Because someone had recorded it. Not the whole conversation. Just the final moment. A short clip posted anonymously on Threads showed Meghan standing beside Victoria's table, her face tight, her jaw clenched. The audio was poor, but one phrase was clear. Fake bitch. And the timing? Impeccable. Because just days before, Meghan had launched her Women Supporting Women initiative through Archwell, urging global female leaders to elevate one another through compassion. The contrast couldn't have been more damning. But was it really that simple? Was Victoria just snapping? Finally letting the mask slip? Or was it something else? Because according to an insider seated at table 6, Victoria didn't just say fake bitch. She also said something before Meghan walked up. A murmur to a friend. Here comes the Duchess of Deceit. And after Meghan walked away, she didn't gloat. She didn't laugh. She whispered one more thing. She's not brave. She's branded. Oof. Let that one sink in. Because that's not just shade. That's a direct attack on the core of Meghan's identity, her carefully curated image of authenticity, vulnerability, and resilience. And from Victoria, that line cut deep. Meanwhile, Meghan's team went into quiet damage control. No public comment. No post-event pictures. No quotes. But just 2 days later, she appeared at a women's tech summit in San Francisco. She wore a bright pink suit. Her speech focused on reframing truth in the digital age. And the line that got the most applause? Sometimes, the loudest voices in the room are masking the deepest insecurities. Boom. She never said Victoria's name. She didn't have to. Everyone knew. And just like that, the war was back on. But here's where things get even messier. Because buried in all the drama, in all the coverage of the fake bitch gala, as Twitter now calls it, was a detail almost everyone missed. A conversation overheard by a junior fashion reporter as Meghan walked off stage at the tech summit. She was speaking to an aide, quietly, but the words were caught. She thinks this is over? I haven't even started. That line sent chills, because it confirmed what everyone feared. The feud hadn't peaked. It was still climbing. And Meghan wasn't done, because the next person she targeted wasn't Victoria. It was Kate Middleton. And what Meghan allegedly said about her, according to Victoria's DMs, was so cruel, so personal, that even former allies started to question everything. And when that comment finally leaked, it didn't just reignite royal drama. It set the palace on fire.